Hello and welcome everyone to episode 102 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Kaiju number 8 and Dragon Ball Super. And I think I had a little bit of a revelation in these chapters. I think Thriller Bark might be good?
Yeah,
is that
at least
possible?
Starts good. It definitely seems that way because I think we get together each time and just like, wow, that was better than I remember.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like, again, that is kind of like the running theme of this podcast, of the stuff that we were maybe not that hot on originally. We're like, hey, it's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still point to Koro being only okay, but still, that's early on.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
Oda's obviously in a good clip right now, just really rolling along and just knows his craft about what he wants to do with this. And boy, is that evidenced in this set of chapters.
Yeah, we got a little bit of the past and a little bit of the future.
Yeah. Who knew?
How about that?
Who knew Thriller Bark would have so many things that just hint at later elements that would not even pick up one?
Yeah. Actually, that more than you know.
Of course.
There's a couple things that we've gotten to that I'm like, this will come up later, and I'm like, I'll not talk about this.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I know something about it just threw me off, and I'm not sure if it was just because of coming off the high of Enos Lobby and not quite matching that, but it's also nice to have something a little smaller scale. Ironically, saying that.
It's fun. It's just like a fun little romp, you know. Well, obviously there are stakes, and it's been fun seeing the stakes, you know, kind of pick up. But it is not like the stakes were like almost world ending in Water 7 Enies Lava. You're talking about like the ancient weapons reawakening, government conspiracies, and like there's none of that. You know, this is just like Halloween.
Yeah, it's very You're pretty much right.
Exactly. It's great. You know, you can't be at 100% all the time, and I think that might be why some folks aren't super into Skypiea too, because it is kind of sandwiched in between two very high stakes arcs.
True.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let's break down what we actually enjoy about all this and start with chapter 456, Demon from the Land of Ice, where we finish up our flashback and see that our little band of Lieutenant Spaceys and that space pirate was just too strong. They failed.
Yep. Oh, he's sad.
Yeah. I still just see a antlerless chopper whenever I look at this guy. It's so weird.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But we can pick up where we left off with Frankie being like, wait, you want us to go back to the Sunny? He's like, yeah. And Brook is basically breaking down how it all works. Basically, the people who were captured have lost their shadows. But just because they lose their shadows, that doesn't mean they'll actually die. But what they do is they need to keep them alive. If the person who the shadow came from dies, then the shadow dies as well. So they need to keep these people alive. So what they do is just send them adrift in the sea. And because of the cloud cover, they can't leave. So they're stuck staying with them unless they die. And most people don't want that to happen. So
right, yeah.
The key thing that they need to do now is get back to the Sunny and get the bodies, because they're basically asleep for a while after the shadows are taken.
Yeah, it does sort of present kind of like an interesting limitation to like Moria's plan, because I guess it's not as all powerful as it seems. You know, like there is a kind of a limitation to this power, which I do find really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I love the reasoning behind it, is because we get revealed the zombie's weakness.
Oh yeah.
Salt. And you're like Frankie at first, where it's like, oh, it's to ward off the evil spirits or something. Well, I was like, no, the zombies are only able to move because of the powers of the devil fruit. But since salt embodies the power of the ocean, the body in its fake soul will not be able to maintain a bond. So sprinkle salt on it and you sever the soul, or sever the shadow.
That makes sense. And I'm wondering if, like, I would imagine salt doesn't really strongly affect like devil fruit users in a normal context, but maybe there's something about like the bond, you know, like I don't know if the power is just like diffused. It's way too technical getting into this, but yeah, I do think it is interesting that it's just like, okay, salt is like just potent enough to break the bond.
Yeah, where I think it's because there's no body to protect from the salt. It's just maybe a concentrated dose. That's why it has to go in the mouth.
Yeah.
But it's still a cool idea, but a limitation in how it all kind of works. And they were like, well, how do you know all this? And, well, I was drifting away on my ship, but luckily I woke up with enough time to turn back. So I returned to the island and fought, but I was defeated, and I fled because I did not want to die. I'm the last survivor from my ship, so I must escape these demonic waters and fulfill the pact I made with a friend. That's why I ran to save my life.
Yeah, you get the sense, like, Brook's kind of, he's motivated by something a little bit deeper. And that was sort of like the way that he says, like, I have to fulfill a pact I made with a friend. That's like, this is more about than just getting his shadow back. And that's sort of your first, like, indication.
There's some nobility here. It's like, he has this resolve now. It's like, I'm not going to run away this time. I will defeat that man and take back my shadow. And we get just this little flashback of him just defeated with a much more cracked skull. Like, how does he heal? That's the big question, is how does Brook heal?
There's an answer to that from way later, but it is kind of a gag. So
oh my gosh.
Spoil it.
Amazing. But before they go their ways and Frankie and Robin go back to the Sunny, Frankie has one more question. And we cut away before we can actually see that question.
Yep.
Instead, we go back to Gecko Moria taking Luffy's shadow. And of course, Nami and Usopp and Chopper are all freaking out as they're watched from Kumasi, and
yeah, their cover's almost broken.
Yeah, kind of figuring out the details of how it all works, and all that. I love how Chopper still maintains his poor hiding techniques.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. How is he?
He's just hanging on.
Oh my goodness, I had not noticed that. That's brilliant.
I think the other thing I noticed about Chopper, at least for some reason, just starting with this set, it might have been the case before, but we have, I think, finally hit the point where Chopper has reached his more modern incarnation, where you remember when he was first introduced and his body was kind of as chubby to match his head.
Yeah.
If you look at his portions, sometimes he seems really thinned out, where it's a giant head and a very tiny body.
Yeah, I forgot if we talked about that when Chopper first got introduced, but he does get kind of like more marketable.
Yeah.
as things go on. I hadn't thought about that, but seeing it now, I'm like, yeah, it is probably about that time.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling like the shift in Chopper has begun, and
he got Pikacha'd.
That's what I was just about to mention. That something about characters voiced by Ikue Itane, they just thin out over time.
Yeah, maximize the cuteness.
Yep, that's the only way to do it. So we see them spying, of course, and Hogback is all proud because he's put everything he had into the creation of number 900, and he's been working towards it ever since they met 10 years ago. We kind of get a sense of their dreams, where Absalom wants to be the cemetery king of the world, and Perona wants to take everything cute in the world to make them zombies to create her own kingdom full of obedient serfs.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. And we also learned that no matter how defiant a person is, their shadows are obedient to Moria. And then he says something very interesting, which I've not actually met this character, but it's hard not to be aware of it, because Moria says, with this many underlings, I wouldn't have lost to that idiot Kaido in the New World the way I did last time.
Yeah, I laughed out loud when I got to that, because I was like, wait, what? That is our first mention of a fellow by the name of Kaido, whom all we know is that Moria lost to him.
Yeah, that's all we know so far. But if you're aware of the anime at all, where it's been and what people are talking about, you've heard the name Kaido. And I have
hard to avoid.
Yeah, I have no idea what the guy's deal is. I don't know why he becomes an enemy, or what his what drives it to all happen. I just know it's something that took a long time to take care of. So
yeah, it's and I think the funniest thing to me about this whole thing is that, like, knowing what I know now, the idea that Moria tried to fight him with a zombie army and that he's just like, zombies, that'll do it. Like, no, that is totally like what he would do, and I could like that is a scenario I can see in my head very clearly. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yep, got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't remember much about Moria beyond this arc.
Yeah,
and I don't know how much he shows up again, but even now you don't get the sense that he's, he wants to be Pirate King. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I do. I find it like the idea just for a second of like having a zombie army, but like you have to keep all of the bodies close by and out of sunlight. Otherwise, like your entire army just like that. That plan seems kind of forfeit from the get-go.
You get a mean enough pirate who doesn't care about people's lives. They're just like, whatever.
Sunshine.
Yeah. And the other thing, as we later learn, or as the person, the cemetery I mentioned, you need to defeat Moria and the zombies will be banished. So I think that also goes a long way in explaining why he's so hands off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
He can't fight or else he loses everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That is,
Yeah.
Kind of a small flaw in the plan, but.
A little bit. But
that's okay. He has his lackeys. You do it. That's his motto.
Yep, that's his motto. The Spider-Mans show up because they're getting ready to dump Luffy onto the ship to set them adrift. But they also report that the Spider Monkey Terrorland was defeated, meaning that the one man that they know can do this is back, the Humming Swordsman. I love how they say like it's the nightmare of 5 years ago has begun to repeat itself.
It's like you're the nightmare.
And Hogback's just like, curse him. How did he find out? How did he end up back here? Also, why are you standing in front of me in this panel?
Yeah, he's blocking up office. Like, he has the idea of Hogback just being like aware enough, like, hey, get out of the way of the camera.
But we do get Moria's motto here. It's like, it seems we have another source of trouble. It's like, I don't care. It's not my problem. You do something about it.
Yeah, he's good. Oh God, what? I had a word in my head about what he's good at.
Delegating.
But delegating. There it is. Yes, thank you. Oh my God, yeah, that's him.
Yep. So they take away Luffy. Moria's taking Luffy's shadow to the freezer. And Usopp and the others watch the body get taken away. And Usopp very readily intonates like, okay, I don't think he'll die. Even if his shadows are taken away, it's the same as Brook. So Usopp actually figures out quite a bit here.
Yeah, I do kind of like that since we do have the cast kind of split up like this, we're kind of like seeing them figure out like different parts of the situation at different times. But they're all kind of putting it together.
Yeah, exactly. At any rate, we go back to Frankie and Robin and, well, really the leader zombies, I forget what they're called, the captain zombies. And they're basically searching for Frankie and Robin. They're just like, didn't think Terrorland would lose. Like, where are they? And we return to Frankie, who's just full of tears. I'm not crying.
Bawling his eyes out. Which, again, I didn't think that this would be a consistent aspect of his character at this point. But he does, like, he just... At the nearest sob story, he will just break down.
He's an emotional guy.
Yeah, and for whatever he asked for Brook, just like it really got to him. And I love. He's like, I really love that skeleton now.
Yeah, you don't run into guys like him every day, and I love how just Robin's like, yeah, I agree. So it's like, whatever Frankie asked him and got response about, it was enough to like, okay, I like Brook now.
Yeah.
But speaking of Brook, we see him confronting his zombie, the zombie of Ryuma. Basically like, hey, why are you back here? I beat you before. And he's like, and Brook's like, hey, you're my shadow. It's like, no, the strength of our bodies are different. And
I'm you, but stronger.
Yeah, basically. And Brook is just like, nope, you're going to return to my feet. And that's just such a cool line.
It is, yeah.
But into the freezer, because we're going all over the place now. Moria is doing some talk up about this zombie number 900. Found his corpse in the land of ice. Something that was so fearsome and wreaked havoc in the seas 500 years ago. Nations fell at his hands, were taken whole, island and everything, and created a nation of villains. The one who created the famous legend of the continent puller was right before his eyes in the land of ice.
You're hyping
And
this up.
time to bring this one back and have it under his control with Luffy's shadow, the berserker warrior they call the beast, Oars.
Yeah, and that is a reveal.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Oars as a pretty significant part of this arc, but like, he's huge.
He is massive. Chained
Where
up
did
in
he get this thing?
the land of ice, wherever that is.
Yeah.
And you can just see how they're all just completely dwarfed by this thing. Even Moria.
Yeah. There's the prospect of Luffy being in that is definitely pretty horrifying.
For sure. And we'll have to see how that comes about, because let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. Chapter 457, Meat.
Yeah.
Gee, I
Some of
wonder who
these
could be
chapter
saying
titles,
that.
man. Yeah, this is great.
Cowgirl Robin is interesting, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Because that is, you think it's a shirt and a skirt, but no, it's just a skirt with an open top.
just yeah, all right. You know, I mean, I feel she was already kind of like cowgirl-ish with her Miss Wednesday outfit.
That is true. That is true. Also, who handed guns to that child?
Yeah, do not give guns to Chopper. No, you're right. Yeah, he's definitely gotten kind of cutified at this point.
Oh yeah, you can totally
now that you
see
pointed it out, I see it. Yeah, totally.
Yep. That's a fun Old West one, but in the meantime, time to learn more about Oars, and we'll see it all happen. And of course, Usopp, Nami, and Chopper just like, oh god, that's terrifying. But we need to not freak out. We need to stay hidden.
Yeah, I do like that. Usopp points out it's like it's even bigger than a giant. And so I genuinely don't know what Oars is. even now, I don't remember if that's something that ever comes up again or is explained later in this arc. But just like, where did this thing come from?
I mean, he has literal horns, but that might have been grafted on because these zombies are just like pieced together so much that it's hard to say how much of it is his original body. But the way I kind of see it is, well, look at Moria. He's human, but he's bigger than everybody else. And we've seen that with a few humans here. So I guess it's not unrealistic to think that the same can happen to giants, or there just happens to be super giant giants.
Yeah.
That's the best explanation I got.
Yeah. No, well, I'm interested to see if more does get kind of elaborated about Oars. Because I genuinely, I got nothing.
Yeah. And we see how Moria works with the shadows. He just says, calm down, Shadow of Luffy. I'm your master, which actually works. I will now provide you a voice and a body so you can live on as my zombie, and you will forget all human relationships you had in the past and become my loyal soldier. And Luffy's shadow just nods, and this is the pact has been sealed. And we're all set to go. And Hogbat says I should have had Sindri make that vow to erase her past. I don't be able to actually eat from plates. She's like, I hope your kneecaps shatter.
Sindri is just the best. This is a great ongoing gag. Honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Their back and forth is fantastic.
But Luffy's shadow is placed within Oars. We get to see the weirdness of Moria's feet as he walks back across the chains and waits for him to awaken.
God, he's just all neck and all belly. I hate it.
It's such a weird look. And the other crazy thing is Oars is this huge, and we see in the one panel that he's sitting cross-legged. This is him sitting. Yeah. He's that big.
Yes. God. And that's a really cool visual too. Just like the way that Oda is able to portray the scale of this thing, and the way that like it feels like it's almost like shaking the castle itself.
Mm-hmm. And you just see it break through the ice, wake up, and it's like Chopper gets close to screaming, and Nami's able to stop him as everybody waits in anticipation for this to all happen. And then Oars finally wakes up and glares in their direction, which causes Nami to scream.
It broke their cover.
Yep. Freaked him out. And that's when Perona's like, hey, Kumasi, why didn't you tell me you were hiding pirates?
Yeah. I wonder.
I can't imagine. And of course, friggin' Absalon, upon seeing Nami, is like, my bride. Why is she here? And it's like,
course.
Off there. But even more important than that, Oars just rips off the chains without an issue.
God. This scene's giving me mad like Evangelion vibes.
Evangelion or King Kong or yeah, something like that. It is just
Yeah.
massive and out of control.
Yeah.
And the first words out of Orz's mouth, meat. I'm hungry. Just shouting it out. I was like, oh, there's Luffy.
Yeah, well, I love he's just like, Sanji, food. It's like, huh? Who's Sanji? So it seems like there's a little more of Luffy in there.
Yep. What a shock. Luffy has a strong will.
Yes. Yeah, that whole thing about like, I love just instantly, it's like, you will forget your human relationships. He's like, Sanji, where's my food?
And that's all the time that the trio needs to get away. And they're like, okay, Luffy's shadow's in that thing. He's massive. We got to go.
Yeah.
And because it shouted out meat, they're like, oh, it must have Luffy's personality, which is when they realize like, oh, the penguin dog has Sanji's shadow.
Yep.
So and that must have been what happened with Brook with that weird samurai. And I like how they intuit all this stuff.
Right, yeah, because at this point, like, at least Frankie and Robin have all had this explained to them, but now the rest of them, like, they're just seeing it in action. And they're able to kind of, they're able to put two and two together. But I really like this bit from Chopper, too, because I don't think, like, I don't know how much it's really, like, emphasized, but, like, he's, very instantly just, like, what Dr. Hogback is doing is evil, like, he is not a doctor, he's just a villain.
Yeah. And that's big, like for Chopper to say, because he's been all about Hogback up to this point, just thinking of him as a great man.
And he's just like an innocent child who's very like very gullible, very trusting. So to kind of like have that trust broken, I think there's something a little sad about that.
Yeah, I don't remember who matches up with Hogback, but I really hope it's Chopper.
I hope so too. I don't remember.
Yeah, I have no idea, but. I like this sort of leadership from Usopp, where it's like, it isn't time to mourn. Our own crew is falling to their zombie games. We're the ones who have to save them. So let's go where they're taking Luffy's body and get back to the Sunny. And that's when they figure out, I was like, oh, that means Zoro and Sanji, they went through the same thing, so they should be there too. And they're just like, oh, they're such a pain. And all of a sudden, Usopp and Chopper get blown up by whatever the heck Absalom's power is.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Like, I thought you could go, and maybe he's just like chucking invisible bombs at him. I don't know. But
could be.
Of course, he takes that opportunity to get Nami back.
Yep, kidnaps her. Has that whole thing with his tongue sticking out. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, I will never like this character. I hate him. I hate him with all of my being. But he's at least entertaining when he's kind of a foil for like all the other weirdos. Mm-hmm. But like when he's just by himself, he's kind of the worst. Yeah,
but God, I love this moment. I tried to see how it all works, but I think I understand. Basically, the Kabuto is Usopp's slingshot that he just unfolds. That's what it seems like. He just unfolded, like just because you have a kashak as it pulls apart. So I think that's what is going on here.
I could see that. I'm curious how that works. I do like that Chopper points out, I was like, wait, that weapon, Sniper King.
Yeah, but it's such a badass moment. He gets blown up. It's like, hey, I don't deserve to live if I can't protect this one woman, and tries to go for it, but Absalom disappears along with Nami. He's able to make her disappear too, and they're gone.
I feel a little foolish for praising last week. It's like, oh, she fought him off. It's great. And then up there she goes.
Yeah, just long enough that she's fallen into the hands of this creep. No time to worry about that now, as all the other zombies have started waking up and are trying to grab at Chopper and Usopp and take them back. And not looking so good until Frankie and Robin with the save.
Yeah, that's good. Just Frankie just posing like a boss.
We see all the zombie purification happening. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because they know the weakness now. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
All about that.
Good stuff.
We do have an SBS though, and some fun ones for this set at least. We get to see what Frankie's Jolly Roger would look like, which is that's
sick.
Frankie. That's Frankie.
Yeah, it's great.
And the thing that you mentioned last time, somebody was asking about, and that is absolutely the case. So it turns out that Monsters was part of a collection of Oda's short stories called Wanted. And the person basically is like, wait, is the Ryuma that showed up here the same Ryuma from that? And then a separate question is like, wait, Garp seemed to show up in this Romance Dawn one shot in Wanted. So are they the same person, just like that Ryuma? And basically we get the breakdown of like, yes, that is the same Ryuma from Monsters. And he's like, in the world of One Piece, he's already died from an illness and revered as a legendary swordsman. I could have just ignored this matter, but I was really happy to see how many people noticed. As for Garp, that one shot is just a prototype for One Piece, and the Garp of here is not a pirate. He's been a Navy man all his life.
So there you go. I was not expecting to get a full confirmation from Oda, but yeah, there you go. The Ryuma that we're dealing with right now is the same one.
Yeah, and I like how we get to see what Ryuma looks like in the one shot, because I had no idea.
Yeah. Oh man, that old Oda style, it's nostalgic.
It's like, oh, he looks a lot. That's like prototype Zoro.
Yeah, seriously.
But all right, let's go ahead and get to the next chapter. Chapter 458, excuse me. Anything But My Afro.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Which is a very funny title out of context. But back to Aneru in the present after the flashback. Yeah, he didn't like you messing with his Vars, and he's pure lightning. Yeah, they're done. These pirates stood no chance.
It's very funny that, Aneru he said, all right. Yeah, divine judgment.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
But we return to the zombies freaking out. It's like, oh crap, other people than the humming swordsman know our weakness. It's like, this is horrible. We can't die is practically our motto, and I don't want to be afraid of dying again.
They seem so happy to be zombies. I
guess so. It's just apparently a good time. And they're basically reconnecting and telling each other about what they figured out. So they're all headed towards the Sunny, and they're like, yeah, what was that big growl? It's like, oh, that's Luffy. Yeah, we'll tell you that too.
Well, yeah, we got a story for you. Oh boy.
And we see the zombies rushing to bring in these giant bits of meat, and it's just like, how much is he going to eat? The entire island is going to run out of food.
I mean, to be fair, even if it wasn't Luffy in there, like, I imagine keeping this giant kaiju basically like fed would be really tough. And so adding Luffy's insatiable hunger for meat on top of that is just a bit of a recipe for disaster.
I mean, I think regular Luffy could probably eat this entire island out of its food, so...
Yes, exactly. And some of it is stuff that they stole from the Sunny anyway.
That is true. I love how the zombies are all complaining. They're all just sort of watching. And all the while, Moria is just really pleased with himself.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah. Yeah, I love that they're just kind of like, the zombies are like, don't think you're the boss around here. And he's like, the master will become the king of the ocean someday. And or as Luffy just like looks at him. They all start bowing. I'm sorry, no disrespect.
Yep. And I love how he refers to Moria as just like, oh, thanks, baby onion.
Yeah.
And that's when Moria tries to exert control. It's like, you're a great villain who left behind loads of legends from 500 years ago. But now in the present, you've been revived as my underling. And that's when Oris said is like, no, I have a dream.
Yeah, I've never met a zombie with dreams.
I'm going outside. I'm going to sail around the world. And everybody, all the zombies are like, that's no use, idiot. This is a special freezer encased with a thick layer of steel. And Oris uses Gum pistol, but doesn't actually stretch and breaks through it without an issue.
Yes, of course. So and you just, God, this giant monster yelling out, I will become the king of the pirates. It's just like, Moria has made a grave mistake.
Yes, that is for sure, because... Yeah, that just shows how deeply Luffy's dream runs in him. Like, my God.
Yes. Yeah, you can take away his shadow, you can put his personality in another object, but like that, Luffy's will is so strong that he will override it.
Yeah. But enough about Oris for now. It's time to get back to Brook versus Ryuma. We see the name of the title where the Ryuma's like, the last time we fought, you kept saying anything but my afro while begging for your life. And she's like, is it just going to be a repeat of that? It's like, no, not this time. And we get a mini flashback of what Brook went through the first time. It's like, man, they keep springing back up. What do I do? And That's when he sees, just by chance, a zombie got purified because he tried to eat the salted broiled fish.
Yeah. So I love that, like, I don't know, the way that they framed, like, oh no, he found out our weakness. Like, he found out by just, like, you guys were talking too loud.
Pretty much. But I also like how he didn't fully figure it out. It's like, you're that, he goes to confront Hogback and trying to get questions. Like, all right, which zombie did you put my shadow in? If you don't answer me, I'm going to scatter fish all over the island. Huh? Fish? What good would that do? Oh, then it's salt. And Hogback is like, what good will that do?
It's not salt. No.
No.
Yeah.
But we also see why he's called the Humming Swordsman. It's because Brook is actually scared of all the zombies and of being at night.
That's how he keeps himself, from freaking out, is just a humming. And there's something really wonderful about this too, about like this. Obviously, like anybody seeing like a skeleton, with an afro in the middle of the night would be scared, but he's the one who is scared. So, that's just some good old fashioned classic irony for you.
it's
and I think the humming too is also it's one of those like, why do I hear boss music?
And we get to see an old design for Absalom, at least with his hat, and nothing for Perona. Though it does make me wonder how old Perona is, where it's 5 years ago, sure. And she already looked pretty young, so she's probably in her early 20s, mid-20s.
Yeah.
Either way, we see that Brook had met up with Ryuma. They fought, and Ryuma just absolutely devastates him, breaks part of his skull, and he's just like, wait a second. His fighting style is the same as mine, but I can't keep up with him, and he can't do anything, and he threatens to cut off the big afro so he can move faster. And he's like, no, I can't. How if you're my shadow, you won't know how important this afro is to me. Do not chop it off.
Luffy would respect that. He knows how to respect the afro.
Oh yeah, he knows the gospel of the afro. But it's pretty nasty where we see the Ryuma sword go through the eye of Brook.
That's. I feel like that's one of those like, oh right, like he is a skeleton, so like you can get kind of brutal with the imagery a little bit.
I guess if we've already established that he can reform his bones, then
he'll be fine. He grew it back.
Yeah. I'm so curious how is he immortal? Effectively immortal now? Like, I guess he can't. I don't know. It's a weird thing with Brook. Is he immortal? Because now that he's possessed his body again, I imagine he would just restart the aging process because as a skeleton, he might have found a weird loophole.
I am unsure, and I feel like that there's something really. Yeah, you know what? I was about to say something. Let's move on.
Okay.
So I was not entirely.
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm guessing there's no brains in there anymore, but apparently he's able to poop. So,
yeah. The more I think about it, the more I don't like it.
Yeah. But Brook slinks off because he can't. Ryuma can't actually kill him, and but now in the present, he's like, that was pitiful. Brook is like, whatever you say, but I've been training for the past 5 years, so whenever I got the opportunity to fight you again, I could actually hold my own. And I'm excited for this fight.
Yeah, it's cool seeing it because he's like, you say that he was just kind of a huge scaredy cat and was obviously no match for Ryuma at all. But now he's like, all right, I've found my resolve, and I'm ready for it. And so seeing them like clash on relatively even terms at that bottom panel there is like, it's pretty hype.
Yeah, it really is. But we go back to Absalom, who drops off Nami and orders her to be put into a wedding dress. Thank God he's not the one putting her in, but that's still...
Yeah, not great.
Nope. And then the others...
Thankfully, that's it for now.
Yeah, that's it for now. But the others make it back to the Sunny, and they've all sort of followed up on what they've each learned, and they see how much of a mess they've made of the Sunny, and they're trying to find him. And they find him propped up on chairs with silly faces done with clippers and whatnot.
Yeah. I find it hilarious because I don't know. This is like they could have just like dumped the bodies. It's just like, all right, here you go. But I guess they had enough free time to just like, let's just like mess with them a little bit. They're all 5 years old. And
they attempt to beat the heck out of them. We see the layers of bumps on their heads.
Yeah.
But they're still asleep. But Usopp with the plan. Look, a beautiful female swordsmaster carrying lots of meat. We get each of them waking up. Beautiful female? Meat? Swordmaster?
That's I love that, like, Usopp's just like, oh, I know. And that it works. It's of course it's completely in character. It's incredible.
I'm loving how Usopp is proving his worth, that they would have been in massive trouble without Usopp if he had stayed behind, if he had not rejoined the crew.
He's kind of been he's been taking charge. It's been kind of fun to see these past couple chapters.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's something too of, like, I mean, we talked about this already, but like the fact that Oda is able to, like, you know, kind of let the three scaredy cats shine for a little bit. You know, we've like kind of had our strongest fighters taken out, while also letting Robin and Frankie, as the two newest members of the crew, like actually get their time to shine too. So it's the way that he's been able to balance the characters has been really fun.
It's always so impressive how he manages to do it.
Yeah, no, like, this is ostensibly, you know, what, like 7-8 main characters.
Yeah. Oh boy. As for the SBS, we get a question about Kobe and why his salute seems so weird. Oda explains it's a bit different from the usual one because the crew of a sailing ship needs to pull a lot of ropes in order to steer it. There's tar in the ropes, so their palms are usually completely blackened. It's considered rude to show those blackened hands to an officer who outranks you, so they hide their palms when saluting. It's all based on Navy etiquette, which I've like...
It's a cool little detail.
I had no idea. That's cool.
Yeah.
Got that accuracy here. The most realistic manga ever, One Piece.
Of course, yes.
But then also a stat, which boy, his fans have times on their hands. But also, God, how many panels is it now? Because I've got a fan saying, when I was in the first game, first grade, One Piece started when I was in the first grade, but when I learned to be celebrating its 10th anniversary, I counted all the panels up to 45, volume 45. After doing this over the course of 2 months, I've confirmed that there is 40,971 panels drawn so far.
Wow. And so I think you could probably do a little bit of, like, averaging math from that calculation. One Piece, I think, currently has 107, maybe 108 volumes. Oh my God. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh my God.
A bit more than double.
Yeah, I'd say so. So let me see here. Divided by 45. And then how many volumes did you say there were?
Somewhere it's like 107, 108. I'm not entirely sure.
We'll go with 108. He is currently, based on this average of 910 panels per volume, he is currently drawn roughly 98,000 panels.
Oh my God.
Which is funny because let's go for the 100,000th panel next, which he's close, or he has already reached it.
Well, although I will say, like, it could be a little bit higher considering that One Piece paneling gets really dense after a certain point.
True.
So, like, I wonder how much that would add up to over time. But good Lord.
Yeah. No kidding.
I do love the reader's just like, I'll come again when you get to your 500th chapter. And I'm like, it was so long ago.
Yeah, I know. They've written so long ago. Oh, gosh. But, yeah, it's... Man. It's... What anniversary is this of One Piece? I know we're at an anniversary. It's like 25th, right?
Oh, God. I'm not sure. Something like that.
I think we just celebrated the 25th because it started in 97. So actually, we're in like our 27th year. It's crazy. It'll be 30 years. And this is like, hey, it's 10th anniversary. Like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, my God. There's a non-zero chance that One Piece will still be going in 2027. I'm not convinced it'll be over by then.
Yeah. And we might be caught up by that point.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to chapter 459. I can't just die hoping to be forgiven.
We had a lot of really funny chapter titles. That one kind of cuts deep.
Yeah, I hope so. It's like, we see Neru still in the middle of the destruction, and even that space pirate captain, no chance.
Yep. No, of course.
None of them are made of rubber.
Yeah, there's something just something really funny about watching Endeavor just wreak havoc on the moon.
It's one of those cases where he accidentally becomes a good guy.
Yeah,
not really.
Yeah, no, man, I'm so curious about that space pirate. I have so many questions.
Yeah, same.
We'll we'll find out someday, I guess.
Who knows when this whole arc ends for Anaru.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I have no indication that this will happen at any point anytime soon, but I am waiting for some point in the manga where, like, all hell has broken loose, and then, like, Enru just shows up, is like, hi, I was on the moon. And you're like, wait, what? He's gonna come back someday.
Like, somebody decides to attack the moon for no reason. He's like, all right,
yeah,
who messed with my Vars?
Right, yeah.
In the chapter itself, Luffy is ready to throw down, and they have to remind him, it's like, hey, Moria isn't here. It's like, hey, we're on the Sunny right now. And they're realizing the shadow is gone. Their shadows are gone. The food is gone. And the only thing
Nami's gone.
Nami's gone. And the only thing left is cheese and dried bread. And Luffy's just like crying over his pirate lunchbox, saying cheese isn't enough.
He needs meat. Poor boy.
Oh my God. And as you said, Nami's gone. And as soon as Sanji hears that, he is.
Why did you follow her to the ends of the earth?
And Usopp breaks it down. There's 2 things we have to get back: meat, Nami, and the shadows. Oh, okay, that's 3. I didn't think one of those would make the list, but anyway, let's talk about that. What's going on here? And they, of course, fill him in. And Sanji hears that Nami's getting married, and he's just completely fired up.
Yeah. Oh man.
If he didn't get his fire leg technique in the last arc, this could serve as a pretty good origin for it, based on how much he's on fire.
He could just set his whole body on fire if he's mad enough.
I love that Luffy just says he wants to marry Nami. That guy's got some guts.
Yeah. Just rude. First off.
And they've already said that they've met, of course, Luffy and Sanji's zombies. And hey, Luffy remembers, like, oh yeah, I think I met your zombie too, Zoro. What's he like? Kind of like you, but he wore wooden clogs.
I knew right away it wasn't you. It's like, okay.
I love how it's just like the most ridiculous look, and it's like, all right. So Zoro's just like, okay, find these 3 zombies, put salt in their mouths, and our shadows will come back. And that's pretty good. It's like, man, how did you find that weakness? Well, it was the skeleton that told us about that, but he advised us to come back here. And Luffy's immediately all happy. He's like, hey, you saw Brook? Yay. And that's when Frankie breaks things down. It's like, I did. And when I saw him, I asked him a very insensitive question. When you first brought him back here, I denied his existence. I didn't think he was worthwhile. But once you talk to him, you find out he's got some real backbone because he's a skeleton. I like that Frankie, I like that Frankie actually did one of those jokes after being annoyed for so long.
Yep. That's how you know. That's how you know Brook won him over.
Yeah. But according to Frankie, he's a real man's man. He's a real man because Frankie, to go back to his questions, like, if you go out in public, you know what people's reactions will be. You're a talking skeleton, and there's no way somebody like you is going to be able to make any friends. People who look different from others will always be cast aside. So even if you manage to escape, what are you living for? Like you said, how lonely you were. And if I were you, I probably would have killed myself a long time ago. So what is pushing you forward? Why are you trying to do this? What is that pact? And Brook breaks it down. We left behind a friend of our pirate crew at some point in the past. It was a troubling separation, but we did it out of necessity. We set sail after we promised to return at all costs, and our band of pirates died off in these waters, leaving that promise unfulfilled. Because I'm the only one who survived from the ship, it is my duty to return and tell him about this, even though it's been 50 years since the day we died. And Frankie's just like, what, that long?
Right, yeah.
It's like, I don't think he would wait for that long. And Brook is like, you're right. I have no right to assume that. But if there is a chance he's waiting, I need to return. Because the fact that he might think that we've betrayed him, that we just left him there, how miserable of an existence would that be? And the friend we promised to meet again at the Cape is named Laboon.
Boom!
I so distinctly remember reaching this point and being like, oh my God.
Yeah. This is, I think, one of the all-timers right here. One of the just I don't know. Oda is able to pull, like, just right out of his hat, like, oh yeah, God. So that was right after they entered the Grand Line. So that was like 350 chapters ago,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. It's been about 350 chapters and no mention of Laboon, no thought of Laboon, anything like that. For all intents and purposes, he could have just been the avenue in which to meet up with with Baroque works and that whole thing and just sort of leave it as a side story like the guy stuck in the chest.
Yeah.
But no, it's brought back. It matters. Even the whale matters.
I think what I love about this too, that it is specifically like Frankie and Robin who hear this information first, because they're the ones who were not there. They don't know.
But it's just the fact that he's that dedicated to this friend, this whale.
Yes.
That just wins him over. And I mean, the thing is, it wins the audience over too. If any audience member was unsure about Brook, having this connection is enough. I'm almost positive is enough to be like, oh, we have to have Brook.
Yeah. And the way that, you know, God, like, because us as the readers, like, we already know, like, what Laboon has gone through and, like, how badly he misses now that we know it was Brook, you know, like, he has been injuring himself, you know, for the past, you know,
50
decades.
years.
Yeah. Just because he wants to see his friend again so badly. And now that we know that, like, it's Brook and that he is still alive, is just, like, one of those, I don't know, it's just sweet. And I don't know. I'm the kind of person who, like, I don't know. I grew up on, like, when I think about long form adventure stories, I grew up on stuff like Pokemon, where like they always in an episode are like, we promise to meet again, and then, you know, like, of course,
they end that with every new character they meet.
Yeah, Ash he's not coming back. Like, he's not coming back for you.
There's a few cases where it does happen where they do return, but not. It's a rarity.
Very rare. Yeah, and so I think the first time I had read this, it hit me like a truck of like, oh no, every little thing, every little like person, every little character they meet along the way has the chance to really connect to something back like this. And I think that is one of One Piece's strengths as a long running manga, and it is only going to get stronger the longer that it runs for, because it has so much more material that can like really connect back to the present in a way that just like, it'll just punch you in the gut every time.
Yeah.
And so this might be one of my favorite examples still, but yeah.
Like, what a way to sell us on a character so quickly.
Yeah. Seriously.
And that's when, of course, the others say, we know Laboon. And Frankie's like, what? Yeah, in the entrance to Grand Line, like, we break it down probably for the people who came in later and just picked up One Piece and maybe didn't read the stuff before. But yeah, we met him and we got him to stop ramming his head. So, you know, there were suggestions that they left, but, you know, Laboon didn't believe that. So they're like, so that's who Laboon was waiting for. That one of those pirates, that was the skeleton. And we go, gosh, just to see them have that revelation, but then also go back to Ryuma versus Brook. And Ryuma's like, hey, you are stronger than 5 years ago, but the way we think is exactly the same. And he's still able to put down Brook.
Yeah.
That's when Ryuma breaks it down. You care a lot about that afro as always, but there's no way you can defend such a large weak point. And Brook's like, no, doesn't matter. I don't care. And he's just thinking about Laboon the entire time. It's like, do you still remember us? My heart aches the fact that we might have left behind, that we weren't strong enough to survive the hardships. But I've lost my face, my body, my crew, everything. If we were to meet again, you probably wouldn't recognize me because I turned into a skeleton. I have nothing left of my old self, but this small thing, this head of hair that everyone laughed at, saying it looked like Laboon, this is the only trace of me that you may recognize, and I will protect it with my life.
How dare them?
They make the
I have an emotional
important.
connection to the afro. Stop it.
It's
not
amazing.
fair.
It's amazing what they did there. And Frankie, of course, is sold. Is like, I love both the skeleton and the whale. And we have the agreement here. Luffy's like, he's a musician. He's a talking skeleton. He has an afro. He goes yo ho ho, and he's Laboon's friend. He's going to join our crew. Anyone got a problem? And everybody's like, nope, we're with this.
Yes. God, what a turnaround too from that first introduction where they're all just like, oh my God, this guy.
Right? even Zoro doesn't really say it like the others, but he's the first one off the ship. Is like, hey, we're heading back in. We've got another shadow to retrieve, right? And off. Time for the counterattack.
Yeah. Oh boy. It really feels like, I don't know. There's something really interesting about the structure of this arc of just like they went in first and kind of, got beat up, but now, they're kind of coming back in armed with a little more information.
Yeah, like they did, like even the strong team survived, but they didn't have enough info to really take care of it. And now we've got knowledge on our side, but there is still a giant
yeah,
waiting.
I have a feeling this is probably like we're probably about to start getting into the like actual 1v1s and fights and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that.
Like all the players are set, all the stakes are set, and it's like, all right, we time to go back in. It's time for round 2.
Let's do it with chapter 460, Conquest Before Dawn. And Zoro's just like, well, it's going to be hard to find the zombies who have our shadows, and well, except for Luffy's. Luffy just sort of points out immediately, it's like, you don't have to look for the zombies, but I do want to take a look at mine. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? If we don't do that, we won't be able to see the sun again. It's like, oh no, remember what the old zombie dude said? If we defeat Moria, everyone's shadows go back. So they're like, oh crap, he's right.
Just go beat up Moria. Yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah, well, we'll just take care of that. I was like, I'll go fight Moria. Shadows will go back. Sanji, you'll take care of Nami, right? And he's like, Sanji's still fired up, quite literally.
I got to admit, I am pretty like. It's pretty funny how pissed Sanji is.
Especially when that face when and Usopp tells him that he saw Nami naked in the bath.
So I was like, stop provoking him. That's great.
He's about to mutate. So Usopp decides to go with Sanji because he never wants to see another 7 warlords. Frankie wants to go find Brook to see how his battle is going. But he's like, if anything happens to him before he gets the shadow back, it'll be horrible. So I got to watch that. Zoro's going to go with Frankie because, hey, legendary samurai. So I want to see how strong that is.
They're going to fight, right?
That seems likely. I don't know if Brook is going to be strong enough to defeat Ryuma.
Hey, a 2v1 could be pretty cool.
Could be. I love how it's like, I don't know, we're trying to go up against one of the 7 warlords of the sea. It's like, it'll be all right. It's just like Crocodile. But he almost killed you.
Yeah. Chopper's worried. Luffy's like, hey, we beat a warlord before, man. I don't know. What's the big deal?
Yeah. They're all the same,
this one's not trying to take over a country, so it's easier, right?
Yeah, exactly. Usopp is ready with his special zombie death salt ball for everybody. And I love how it goes into this. Like, none of you understand the concept of danger. So let me tell you one thing. No matter how thick the fog lies on these waters, there's no guarantee that the sun won't shine through. We're only safe because it's night. So in other words, you should treat all this like the sunrise is our deadline. So yeah, we got to do this before the sunrise.
We got stakes and a time limit now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But but then we have our wild card of Horus, who's climbed to the top of the mast and is just like, wow, this place is a ship. The Ocean View sucks. But but I'm going to take this ship and become the Pirate King. So
yeah, it's even like the pose. It's just like Luffy. it's like Luffy if he was 500 feet tall.
Yeah, and you can actually the fact that you can even see his figure on the top of the mast. One shows how big the big Thriller bark is, and 2 shows how big he is. Because good God,
yeah, no, the scale is just insane.
Mm-hmm. And Perona's just sort of reporting on where he's at, and it's like this guy is dangerous. Like, what are we going to do? It's like, Mori's just like, whatever. With Oars around, we can still the shadows, leave even stronger warriors and create even more top-notch zombies. And
Moria doesn't seem to understand the danger that he's in.
Not at all. He's just like, stepping stone. Got a nice big bounty. We can get an even bigger bounty. And
oh, no.
Keep doing that. And it's not a terrible plan, all things considered. It's just, well, he doesn't know Luffy.
Yeah. It just, I feel like he really just underestimates who Luffy is to such a degree that he's just like, it's like, nah, it'll be fine. It's not going to be fine.
And Moria gets the report that, the 3 whose shadows we took are already awake and they're on their way back. And they seem to have talked with the humming swordsman because they know how to defeat zombies. So we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like the zombies
And
are
I love,
actually
like,
afraid.
Yeah, I love Hogback's like, where's Absalom right now? It's like, he's wedding. He started a wedding, and most of the zombie generals are participating in the ceremony, and it's just like, what?
What's that idiot doing? He's like, oh yeah, the banquet will be in an hour, and he wants you to do your special tummy dance to liven out the party. It's like, well, it is true the wedding is more memorable, is the most memorable event of a lifetime. My performance will help it make it stand out all the more. It's like, wait a second, there's no time to dance.
I kind of love Hogback. He's a monster, but he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's been fun. He's definitely been fun. That's when Perona says, like, you don't need to rely on them. It's like, all I have to do is weaken the enemies with my ghosts, and then the zombie soldiers should be able to capture them. And Perona has come across as kind of the most competent out of this entire set.
Right, because she doesn't even have to get close. Like, she can just, like, fire some ghosts at you, and you're like, all right, that's that.
Yeah, she's like, I'll capture them, send them here, prepare enough marionettes. It'll be fine. I'll be in my room.
Yep.
And, yeah, it's like, I love how Hogback is just like, you can really depend on her in terms like this, just like you'd expect from the Ghost Princess. And but freaking Sindri says you could take a lesson from Kumaseed.
I love it. Just like off to the side, a little side conversation. It's
just sniping.
Tell him to shut up. Again, just all the sick burns. It's great.
But Moria stays behind because, like, it's fine. I wasn't really planning to help out, and I want to play with oars a little bit.
He's got a new toy.
And Hogback just like, hey, can you give me 2 command zombies because the Absalom's indisposed. And we go back. We got, where's Moria? Where's my food? Where's the creep that peeped on Nami? And they are just dismantling them without even needing assault.
Yeah. Again, and this is now that they know the zombie's weakness, they're just again, I feel like this is easily this is like Muso inspiration right here. There's probably a stage for this.
Yeah. But we see a bit of a map of Thriller Bark where we see the 5 heading to the upper floors while Frankie and Zoro on the bottom floors, easily fighting through all of them, and just Zoro really upset about how the weaklings captured him and just like, nah, this is unforgivable. And Frankie's just rubbing it. It's like, hey, I'm the one who freed you. You can call me Big Bro if you want.
Yeah, just rubbing it in.
Mm-hmm. But of course, here's Perona and using those ghosts to make Luffy and Sanji depressed. And they get captured by the zombies, or at least held by the zombies. But thanks to Usopp and Robin and the Chopper, they're able to pick them up and get them the heck out of there. But as they're running, Oars decides to come down from the mast and lands right on the bridge.
That spread of him just demolishing the bridge is so good.
Yep. And it causes all of them to fall except for Luffy and Chopper, it looks like. So it's, they all go crumbling down. Except Luffy, Chopper, and Robin are still at the top, but Sanji and Usopp have fallen down with oars. And we see the results where they're just, Sanji and Usopp are embedded in the ground. And
just head first.
And they're like, okay, where'd this wall come from? And Zoro tries to stab it. It's like, wait, this isn't stone. And the weapons left from Frankie doesn't work. It's like, what are you doing? This is Usopp. And it's like, well, this wall just came down. It's like, that's not a wall. That's Luffy's zombie. And that's how we end.
God. I cannot wait to see more of just like, this is a great taste of the complete agent of chaos that Oars is. And it's like, it's a little bit like having Monster Chopper again, but I feel like we're going to see a lot more of just like, obviously nobody's going to be able to take care of this thing by themselves. So it's like, what do you even do with this guy running around?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an issue. And I'm curious how that's all going to end up, just because I don't remember, again, a lot from the big battle. I remember the high points of Thriller Bark. But the thing is, like, unless the pacing gets terrible, it's honestly been pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, even if the pacing does get terrible, like we don't have that much of this arc left.
No, really. We barring any kind of thing that makes us delay the podcast, we should be done by February.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. We do have an SBS though before we take the end off, and we have somebody asking about the fact that okay, the Straw Hats are a family. So if they're a family, who's the dad? Who's the mom? Where's it all at? And that's when Oda breaks it down. So I think it goes like this: the dad is Frankie, street punk. The mother is Robin,
the two oldest.
This makes all sense so far. Second son is Sanji, who's a delinquent. Eldest daughter is Nami. The third son is Usopp. Fourth son is Luffy, and the baby brother is Chopper.
Of course. There you go. That's the family.
You know what? That makes complete sense.
It does. I feel like that is sort of the appeal of Frankie and Robin in some kind of case, because they are kind of like the crew parents, except one of them, but Frankie's just like a man child, but he is still technically
the oldest.
He's the oldest, right? Yeah.
And the final bit we have here is, surprisingly, we have not had a birthday for Ace yet, and they want it to be January 1st because of Ace.
Yeah, which, I mean, hey, that's still fairly recent, so happy birthday, Ace.
Yeah. And his height is 185 centimeters, which I don't know how tall that is, but there you go.
I want to say like somewhere around 6 feet, maybe a little bit less.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it. And as we said,
that was a really fun set of chapters.
It is. I'm trying to remember why these chapters didn't click with me the first time I read it.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll come up later, but...
Yeah, maybe I feel like there is something about, like... God, we talked about this at the start of the show, but, like, yeah, coming off of India's lobby and just, like, how high the stakes were, there might be something about, like, you want that high again. You want to kind of, like, all right, when is it going to get good again, you know, so to speak? Mm-hmm. You know, when is the stakes going to get as high as it was? But that's, like, just kind of not what this is, you know? And I'm having fun just, like... just watching the characters be the characters and all the silly little situations they get into. So, you know, I'm not the kind of person, I think, really anymore who's just like, you know, I need my like high stakes fights all the time. So
yeah,
and, you know, One Piece is an adventure manga, and this is an adventure through some Halloween nonsense.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 456 to 460 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. Still watching Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, a little under the halfway point. It's getting better.
Well, that's good.
Review. Yeah, I hadn't tweeted about it in a little while. I have various thoughts to compile, but yeah, it's, you know, if you want to see me talk about that, it's there.
There we go. Check it out. And hey, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 461 to 465 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
The name of that friend that we left at the Cape swearing to meet again is Laboon. Even if I am able to return, I don't think he'll forgive us for running away and dying like that. But no matter how much he resents me for forcing him to suffer all of these years, death is never an apology! Because when a man makes a promise, he doesn't stop fighting until he fulfills it!